All right, so thus far we've been writing our web applications more or less by hand using the built-in HTTP module in Node.js to handle the networking for us. It's great that we have the power and the flexibility to get down to that level of nitty-gritty detail in Node, but it certainly does require us to write a lot of code and seems a little time-consuming. And it would be nice if we had a framework that did a lot more for us and gave us some really cool functionality. There actually are a ton of them available on NPM, the Node Package Manager, and the one that I've sort of settled on and end up using now for most of my projects, and it is indeed quite a popular framework, is something called Express. It's a very, very elegant way of sort of routing requests through an application and letting you process things. And it's built on top of a library called Connect, which uses something which is a collection of what are called middleware components. And these middleware components are basically just little clumps of functionality that you can add to your web application. So I've gone ahead and I've created a little lesson 7 folder here, and I'm going to make a subfolder so I can play around with Express, and I'll call it 01 play. And what I'm going to do now is we're going to change the way we use modules from now on. Instead of just saying npm install module name, for every project we write now, we're going to actually write ourselves a lesson 7. We're going to write ourselves a package.json file. And this lets us specify some information about our application and also lets us say what the dependencies are. So we're going to call this express test, description, and we'll say playing with express.js. We'll give it a version number of 0.5, I don't know, 0.1.0, that's great. We'll say it's private. And then finally, what we're going to do is we're going to give it some dependencies. And the dependencies is actually just a collection of things that you depend on. So we're going to depend on Express, which is currently in version 3. So you can specify a .x here to sort of say, I will take any version 3 of Express. If I wanted to take any version of 3.1, I could wildcard it like that or something, but I'm happy with just any version of 3. And then we're also going to start including async in everything we work with in all of our projects right now, and they're sort of in their version 0 series. So, assuming I didn't make any syntax errors, I can now go here to my CT01 play, and I should be able to say npm update, and it'll go ahead and figure out what I've got and what I'm missing, and it'll download it all for us and install it all. Great. So now you'll see I have a Node modules, and it has both async and express in it. So what I'm going to do now is write a little hello world in Express. You've seen this before with a simple web server, and it's not going to look a whole lot different. So we'll just go through it to show you what it's like. And we'll say, we'll just call it server.js again. But basically, I'm going to say var express equals require express. And so what you do is you create a new app object with an instance of that express. And it doesn't quite use the factory or the constructor module I was talking about for the constructor or factory model I was talking about in lesson 5 on the modules. But it uses something pretty similar, and you just call it express as a function like that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, I'll just do a wildcard like that, and then request response. And then we'll say res.end hello world express style. Okay. And then finally we'll listen. And assuming we haven't typed in anything incorrect, let's say node server. And we'll go here and we'll say curl localhost 8080. And there we go. We have our output from our first Express server. So I'll go ahead in the next part and explain what all of these things do, but basically this is how we handle requests in Express, and it's very, very pleasant and easy framework to work with. So let's get going.